Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for part 2. I'm going to get to this table on the supermoon in just a minute. I just have so much to share. I really don't even know what to share first, but I just want to show you what happens when you put in Don Trump, President-elect. When you just put those terms in, you get 111 matches, and this is the first of the 111 matches. And I know a lot of people have been seeing the numbers 1111, and I believe the number 11 is very significant as well. I may talk about that in another video, but I just think it's interesting how this comes up. But another thing that's interesting about this table is right here at the bottom. It talks about the second month and the 20th day of the month. And I've talked about before how originally the second month was the month of Heshvan. And I just want to show you where that is on the calendar. The 20th day of Heshvan would be November 21st. And of course, the 21st day of Heshvan would begin on the 21st because the Hebrew days begin at sunset the day before. Okay, so if your date that you're talking about is the 22nd, it would begin on the 21st, and the 21st would be the 20th day. The 21st of our November would be the 20th day of Heshvan, which would begin the 21st day of the month of Heshvan. And over here you have the second month on the 20th day of the month mentioned over here in this table. Okay, now I've talked about in my previous tables how I believe that the new moon that we just had in October, we had a second new moon in October, which was called a black moon because it was a second new moon in 1 month. And I talked about how I believe that that could have been a sign that an extra month should have been added to the calendar. Well, if you go back a month to October, which would be our 10th month, but it would be the Hebrew 7th month. If you go back a month, the 21st day of the month, this would have been the first month, would have been the last day of Sukkot. Okay, so that's why I thought this was significant that it was coming up with this date over here in this table on Donald Trump. But after looking at this table, I happened to notice something else. I actually got a comment yesterday from, I'll show it to you, it's over here, by Arthur Prudent, and he made a very good suggestion. He suggested that I look into Hanukkah in the tables, and he mentioned how Hanukkah is also Sukkot. And he mentioned how he made a video about that, and so I went to watch his video, and I watched part of that video. I still need to finish watching that one, but I actually got interested in another video that he made, which is very interesting, and I highly recommend it. It's all about numbers, and he shows a clip from another video that was done where they mention that there was actually a president in the past who had a third term, and that would have been Franklin D. Roosevelt. And it just so happens that, okay, I had to get to the part of the video where it was talking about that so I could make sure I was saying this right. But it's based on this video over here, and he's saying that if you go back to November 5th, which is the date that Franklin D. Roosevelt secured a third term, and you add 666,666 hours to that, it takes you to 6 p.m. on November 22nd, 2016. Okay, well, normally I wouldn't have been thinking anything about this date. I wouldn't have thought there was anything significant about that date if it wasn't for the fact that it was coming up in this table that's all about blowing the trumpets, and it has to do with Donald Trump being elected as president, and it's also having to do with the Feast of Tabernacles. And if it wasn't for the fact that we just had a black moon a few days ago at the end of October, which could have been signaling, since it was a second new moon in 1 month, it could have been signaling that an extra month should have been added to the calendar, which would mean that November would actually be the true first month of Tishri, if that is the case. And so if that's the case, then the 20th of Heshvan, which would be when the 22nd day of November begins, or the 21st of Heshvan, which would begin on the 21st of November, would be the last day of the Feast of Sukkot. Okay, and it was in the last day, that great day of the feast, when Jesus stood up and cried, saying, "If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water." And this was quoted in John 7:37 through 7:38. And like I had said, this table is making reference to the Feast of Tabernacles, and it's all about blowing the trumpets. And so I'm going to go ahead and read this matrix, and then I want to talk a little bit more about numbers, and then I want to talk about the supermoon as well. But this is coming up in Numbers. Speaking of numbers, this is coming up in Numbers 10:2 through 10:11, and it says, "Make thee 2 trumpets of silver, of beaten work shalt thou make them, and thou shalt use them for the calling of the congregation, and for the journeying of the camps. And when they shall blow them, all the congregation shall gather themselves unto thee at the door of the tent of meeting." And tent means tabernacle. "And if they blow but one, then the princes, the heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves unto me. And when you blow an alarm, the camps that lie on the east side shall take their journey. And when you blow an alarm the second time, the camps that lie on the south shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys. But when the assembly is to be gathered together, you shall blow, but you shall not sound an alarm. And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow the trumpets, and they shall be to you for statute forever throughout your generations. And when you go to war in your land against the adversary that oppresseth you," and that's where the abbreviation for president is coming up in the text, "then ye shall sound an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before Jehovah your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your feasts, and in the beginning of your months, you shall blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over your sacrifices of your peace offerings, and they shall be to you for a memorial before your God. I am Jehovah your God." And it came to pass in the second year, in the second month, on the 20th day of the month, that the cloud was taken up over the tabernacle of testimony. Okay, so this matrix is talking about when you're supposed to blow the trumpet. And I think it's interesting that you're supposed to blow the trumpet when you go to war. And as we all know, war is on the horizon, which again may be part of the reason for the symbolism of the trumpets and the name Donald Trump, and how that seems to be symbolic of the trumpets being blown. And it says you're also supposed to blow the trumpets at the time of the new moon, which actually brings me to this other table over here that I did on the super moon. And if you're not aware, there's going to be a super moon on November 14th, and it's going to be the closest moon, or the biggest moon, since 1948, and there's not going to be another one that big again until 2034. So this is a very significant supermoon, which again could be an indication that this might be the true month for the feast. And as you can see, the word feast comes up in this matrix in ELS form. It's coming up here in the yellow with the letters F, E, A, S, T. And it's interesting that it comes up right next to the term 7 days. And it's really interesting how this matrix reads. And I think I'm going to go ahead and read the matrix next, and then I'll go over the rest of the terms. But it's coming up in Isaiah 30, verses 26 through 29. And it says, "Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold as the light of 7 days. In the day that Jehovah bindeth up the hurt of his people, and healeth the stroke of their wound. Behold, the name of Jehovah cometh from afar, burning with his anger, and in thick rising smoke. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue is as a devouring fire, and his breath is as an overflowing stream that reacheth even unto the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of destruction, and a bridle that causeth to err shall be in the jaws of the peoples. Ye shall have a song, as in the night when a holy feast is kept, and gladness of heart, as when one goeth with a pipe to come to the mountain of Jehovah, to the rock of Israel." And of course the rock would be Jesus. And it's interesting that it's mentioning a holy feast that is kept and gladness of heart, and it's the Feast of Tabernacles that is supposed to be kept with the gladness of heart. So this seems to be making a reference to the Feast of Tabernacles, and you see the word feast coming up in ELS form right next to where it says 7 days. Okay, I'm about out of time, but there's a few more things that I wanted to share about this table over here. I also wanted to talk a little bit more about this video by Arthur Prudent. There's some more interesting facts with the numbers that he presents in this video that I wanted to share. And also wanted to read this comment by Jeff Lewis, because this pretty much sums everything up, and it's a very good comment, but I'll have to do that in the next video. So I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.